Alright, we'll try this. There's a little bit of background noise, so I'm going to have to talk pretty close together because my roommate is watching one of what has to be hundreds of different Netflix shows, which really don't have that much content to them. They're most of the times based off of some kind of graphic novel or a short story that somebody sold because they had a family member in the business who was like, hey, look at this shitty story. Anyway, that's a little envy on my part, but whatever. But it seems like every single one of these ends up just having like the beginning and the end of the episode is always just some old song. Like they're trying to do like a Tarantino thing where they play like a song from the 70s and then there's a character walking away from not shooting another character when you thought he was going to, but then something crazy happened and it was so hardcore. But yeah, anyway, I don't know if that's over yet. I can't really hear it, but welcome back to another episode of the Tim's 2 Cents podcast. Tim just kind of, I wouldn't say it's complaining. I've gotten past that. I'm not that bad anymore where it's just completely me just bitching about stuff the entire episode, but it does delve into that quite a bit. Like I said, I don't know if I said on this one. Oh, I didn't, because I had to restart this episode because, and you might have just heard that clip right there. I'm probably going to have to do something after the episode, but I had everything turned up a little bit too loud. I used to just, I was just lazy with the Audacity because I just did the podcast with Daniel with it pretty much just kept at the same volume. Now I'm trying to do, oh, that's good. There's a car speeding past because somebody couldn't afford or decided to pay extra to take a muffler out to make themselves feel better. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I had to restart the episode because of the volume. But I was trying to think about like what had happened recently that I'd noticed people freaking out about on Twitter. So far, the only thing I'm thinking of is I guess Trump did some kind of an executive order and everyone was like, this has never happened before. And it's like, well, didn't a bunch of the people before him have like over a dozen of those that they just did for no real reason? And they were like, oh, no, it's different. It's different because whatever. I don't understand anything. I don't understand what we're really doing as far as a country. I don't know. I don't get the average person's view of it. I can understand if you're like, I don't know, if you were in the military, you're like, no, we gotta fight for everything. We have to kill everybody else. Or I can kind of understand if you just went to college and everything that you learned was inside of this like weird kind of independence that everybody celebrated, but then the only freedom that anybody really exercises is just getting fucked up and then complaining that people try to stop them from getting fucked up. I could understand why you'd be like, no, we have to be nice to everybody. Everybody should just like, let's just all smoke a joint and then maybe we can all just take mushrooms and we can deal with our PTSD from getting talked at too loud. I can understand that. What I don't understand is the kind of like the middle of the road people. They're just like, well, I mean, stuff kind of works. It's happened before and, it's just going to keep happening. So, whatever that's a little bit of a lie. I can understand that too pretty well. It's, like everything I do is to myself. I'm very much in my head about, oh, well, I'm different than other people. I'm more, not refined. I'm more particular about how I spend my time. And I don't use it just watching stupid Netflix movies. I use it watching stupid YouTube videos, and that makes me better than everybody else. And, I don't have any issues at all. So, I that's the problem. That's almost what drives me insane more. It's not the looking around and being like, I don't understand how you could even possibly think this way. I don't understand how you can be completely fine with this. I can see, because they're not even hard to understand. Oh, great, another car. And this is why I can understand. It's because nobody fucking cares. Nobody fucking cares at all. Everybody's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take a muffler off my car and just drive around for no reason. Just make it loud because yeah, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that everything is already too loud. But, you know, we gotta have this giant ass fucking explosion things going down our roads because that's safe. You know, we're gonna get all up in arms about guns being legal, but then everybody just drives around explosive little death traps, and then most of the time is on some kind of a psychiatric medication. At very least stoned at this point with how close we're getting to recreational weed being legal in Pittsburgh. We have mayors tweeting about it now, or whatever Bill Badudo is. That's actually a side point that I'll go, just Twitter in general. I've made this comment before, but I'm just, again, I get why, because it works and people engage with it, but just politicians taking pictures and putting them on Twitter, or people doing hangouts, it's just not my thing. It's kind of sickening. It's like, guys, at least just act like the fucking murderers you are. You don't have to seem, it's just, oh, we're just like you. We're just going to sit here and have a beer. If you're on Periscope and you watch anything besides Joey Diaz, the comedian, smoke 5 bowls of weed one after another and then scream in his Cuban accent into the phone and tell you that you got to go out and be a cocksucker to everybody and tell everybody to suck your balls, there's no other reason to have Periscope than to see a how old is he, 55-year-old Cuban man scream at you stoned as fuck. There's no other reason. There's no reason to watch a politician drinking beer or cooking their food and then being like, you know what? We're going to make a difference while we just kind of televise our lives to each other and then go, you know what? We need to make a change. We need to make a big change, and that big change is going to happen through grit and determination. We cannot stay the course. And then whenever the actual thing is supposed to happen, the interests, as far as the corporations and whatever bill is being passed, will go, you know, I mean, we would really like an input on this bill because we feel like we have some valuable information about this, and we are completely willing to be compliant with whatever goals and whatever, we are completely willing to be compliant with whatever guidelines that we put up and whatever tests that we decide need to be put in place so that we can kind of get a head start on complying with those. We're completely fine with all of that. And like every other law, it's just going to be some kind of lobbying organization that kind of makes the law. It has nothing to do with, and that's great. It's amazing. I love that we're so, half the country is like, nope, capitalism is amazing. I love capitalism, but they don't actually believe in capitalism. They believe in this kind of protected market that's only slightly protected. And then the other half is like capitalism, or not, it's probably not half, but it's going to get closer to that, of people that just think that just anything with the name of capitalism is evil. The free market is exploitative of workers, unlike every other system of hierarchies. And that, but then our governments are the actual thing that we all talk about how we need to keep money out of, and we do, we're all, it's like, we're like, we need to keep money out of politics, and then we're just like, but we're not going to, we're just gonna let it happen. Like, politics is the most capitalistic part of our country. It's just, no, we'll give you this, you do this for us, and then we all say it's good. Everybody, one hand wipes the other, or one hand washes the other, and then everybody's happy. The agreement that is arranged is normally beneficial to both parties. It is always, because even if it's done because one party has pictures of the other one molesting a child or doing something such, I mean, that's a random example. I wouldn't say that that's a prevalent thing amongst these people. But it's pretty fucking, what did I want to say? Damn it. This is the problem. If I could have like a straight rant all the way through this podcast, I think I would get someplace, but it's always this getting hampered over words that, well, no, I mean, that's my thoughts. Everyone else is like, no, you're not really saying anything different. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird that everything that we talk about, how, like, we wish that people would perform honest capitalism or conscious markets, or I don't know if conscious consumerism is it. No, I think it is. I think that's a phrase for something, but I think it's already been kind of picked up and co-opted. I don't know if that's the right word by a group that kind of labeled it as not exactly what I mean. But as far as politics goes, we just go, yep, no, money is just going to always pretty much make the decisions, and we're going to either ignore that or tell you that that's not how it happens depending on the party. If it's the other party, we'll go, hey, there's money in politics, and then we'll go, but we're not going to change that. We're going to leave it like that because, that would be too difficult. So yeah, I mean, that's probably cringier, the idea of how much money affects that, than just politicians going online and broadcasting their stupid little staged home life where they aren't fingering a 2-year-old. But yeah, I don't know though. I mean, cause it's almost still worse to me. Like at least the whole, let's just sell any kind of semblance of democracy down the river. Not that I have any soft spot in my heart for democracy. But we're just going to kind of sell any kind of semblance of that. It's still almost worse to me to be doing the, hey, but at least I'm going to look like a person. You're not going to be like, oh no, I don't know what this person is doing. You're going to know exactly what I do every night. And that's always, I come home and I go, how are you guys? I'm just going to make a meal here because, I'm just like you. That's why I'm not talking normally. I'm talking in a very stated cadence, and most of politics in general is done in this kind of weird cadence that is not how any normal person really talks unless they're reading something from a script. But now we just memorize it because that's all we really do anymore in politics is say things and then just go, yes, no, yes, you are right. I don't know. This is bad. I don't really know where I wanted to go with the podcast after that. It's kind of just, it's not that it doesn't depress me. I'm past that point where I'm like, oh, it's so awful that they have money in politics. I can't, I'm not any better than everybody else that just goes, fuck it. But it kind of takes the wind out of anything you can say really after that. You can't be like, yep, but then whenever this guy gets elected, he's going to stop him from taking money. Whenever we get this law passed that's going to stop them from taking money, but is actually just going to give him a different way of making money. It takes away any kind of a conversation beyond that. So I would hope you don't need to be told this, but there's no reason to, speak like that about current events or really anything. There's no reason to have like a fatalistic conversation with people in public or like any kind of a social gathering. There's no reason to have that kind of a conversation unless you just don't want them to talk to you again, because that is a good way. I haven't done it many times, but I have kind of out crazied, or whatever, however you want to put it, like people on the street asking me for money. I don't think I've ever really been like, oh, do you know the banks are listening to us, man? But I've definitely been like, oh, yeah, but like I've just talked at them until they walked away. And that's kind of what you, need to do if you need to get away from a social situation. I've definitely mentioned that before though. But yeah, if you want to be continued to be, welcome back into whatever social circle, it's normally better to just go, yep, it's chitty. It's a real shame. That's always the best whenever people are like, it's just a real shame that they don't, we had this, that's normally like older Republicans who are like, we had this great American notion of what it was to be a nation, and we lost that someplace along the line, and I'd hope Donald Trump could bring that back, but we don't have the wall now, so I don't know how to feel as an American without that wall. There might be dark times ahead, but Batman always says it's always darkest before the dawn. So you just gotta hold on, praise God, and pass the information. Jesus, fuck, this is bad. I think, yeah, no, fuck, I'm not even gonna do it now. But yeah, it's all just kind of interesting. That's kind of been my Twitter usage for the past week. Maybe I'll just start doing that on this podcast. I'll just be like, what did I learn from Twitter or social media? It would just be like chicken noodles, chicken soup for the soul. I don't even know what that was. I never understood what that was. That it was like kind of vaguely Christian, but like not Christian enough for my parents to be okay with it. I think one time I got one from my Catholic uncle, and I was confused by it. I was made curious by but no, I'll do like a consumptive, a Reader's Digest version of what your brain would be if you just got everything from Twitter all the time. As far as anything else, I've still been writing. I've actually been I've been getting way too fucked up with coffee, and like to the point where I'm like shaking. I just sweat through shirts. Now I go to coffee shops, get either one coffee. It doesn't really matter. As soon as I drink the first coffee, I'm sweating, and it just goes right to the shirt. It doesn't matter what I put on. I've put baby powder on the bottom of my arms, and that stuff's supposed to give you fucking ovarian cancer, and it can't stop the sweat from leaking out of my arms. So that's always nice then too, whenever you go up and you're like, can I have another one? You have to raise your arm, and you have a nice little, or not nice, it's not little, it's quite big. It's normally about the size of a fist, and it's under both of my arms. So I'm kind of just preserved to only wearing black shirts now. But yeah, I drink coffee until I'm sweating, and then today I had a panic attack pretty much. I mean, I wasn't that scared because I knew that it was from the caffeine, but like my heart started beating. I got really tensed up. Like, it's not actually a panic attack, but I think you know what I mean, where it was just an overdose of caffeine. Like, it's not quite you're hearing your heart beating in your head like a Coke overdose, or although I don't think I've never even come close to that. But caffeine overdoses it's just headache and just like jittery, and it probably is more like an amphetamine overdose as far as like, cause caffeine, it just doesn't go away. It's just just like, okay, and then like you're trying to talk to people, and life's kind of going too fast because you're just snapping your head around, and it has to be just like a bad fucking meth trip at that point. It has to be like the come down from meth where you're still just frazzled out, but then you have no idea what's going on. But that's at least good for the first hour of that for writing, because I don't know what it is. Maybe but the kind of spazzing out is good for zoning out, and then I kind of just write. I don't have to think about stuff, and it seems to be coming out well enough that I'm not having to go back and kind of go redo things. If I can kind of get in the rhythm of the writing, it goes pretty well, and stuff seems to flow pretty nicely, which is encouraging to see after doing this for this long now, that I'm like, well, I can actually write consistently now, and it doesn't look like absolute dog shit, and so that's nice. I've been still recording one of my short stories. I think it's going to come out to about an hour long. I don't know if I'll put it out under YMB. I'll probably talk to Daniel, but I'll probably just go the route of putting it up on YouTube under a separate channel. But I don't know, look out for that in the future. I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna advertise that. I almost said sponsor that, but I'm definitely not gonna do that. But yeah, so I'm still doing things. Look out for I want to start recording more of the short stories. This first time is kind of like a crash course as far as doing scripted recording for me. I've never done that before. It's always either been pre-recorded podcasts or just live podcasts. So it's not even really interesting. I'm not going to lie about that either. It's kind of just repetitive and annoying, and trying to do different voices for characters is more than a little embarrassing sometimes, especially if my roommate's there. and I have to go back to a different chapter to listen how I did a voice before. So I if anybody does have any, if for some reason you listen to this and you have experience with recording audiobooks or doing something like that, get me at Twitter or on Twitter at bakersdozen93 and let me know why I'm an idiot for this and explain to me how to do things much quicker. Because I'd love to speed that process up, because it's about, I use LibreOffice and it's, I think, 27 pages. I'm on page 16 and I've been working on it for about a week now. It's about 20 minutes so far, or no, I think I said about an hour, so I think at least a half hour so far. But yeah, that'll come out eventually. Look for that, and come back next week when I distill all of Twitter's news down for you and point out why everything's stupid because it makes sense. Have a good week. Bye.